Hey boys and girls, again this is Mrs. Mosier with part 2 for lesson 25's assignment. Remember that I said in part 1's video that we were going to pick up on page 265. Well, here we are with page 264, and then we're going to lead over to answer those questions on page 265. Okay, so this is on volume. Remember that volume is the amount of space that occupies a figure. And we find the volume by simply calculating volume equals length times width times height, okay? You'll also see that you can find the volume by the base times the height, and that's with a capital B, where the base stands for the length times width. So it means the same thing. You can use them interchangeably, okay? So now I'm on page 264, and the heading here says finding an unknown dimension. And what that means is they'll give you the volume, but you have to either find the length, the width, or the height. Okay, so I'll show you guys exactly how to do that. Here's the example here in beige or khaki. It says the volume of water in an aquarium is 1,150 cubic units. The base of the aquarium is a square with edge length 10 inches. What is the height of the water in the aquarium? Well, since it's a cube, we know that the cube is going to be the same dimensions all the way around, okay? So here we have 10 inches for the length, and we know the width is 10 inches. So now we have to see how high this particular cube is for this aquarium, okay? So that's to picture it. Down below you have the model it, where it says, okay, volume equals length times width times height. This time they give you the volume of 1150. The length is 10 times 10, but we don't know the height, okay? So it says in the formula, V equals B times H. And remember, side by side means to multiply. So don't forget that, boys and girls. B represents the area of the base of the prism. The area also means length times width, okay? To find the area of the base, multiply 10 inches by 10 inches to get 100 square inches. So we multiplied 10 times 10, and we came up with 100, okay? So now let's look over on page 265 to see what we are to do next, okay? So now we're going to start making connections. Looking at number 9, it says explain how the formulas volume equals length times width times height and volume equals base times height are alike, okay? And we can think of that as they are alike because the base is a rectangle and the area of the base, B, is the same as the length times width. Okay, so give me just a moment. I'm going to write that down so that you guys can write it down as well. So give me just a moment, guys. So I'm just writing down that they are alike because the base is a rectangle and the area of the base is the same as length times width. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys what I wrote down for number 9. Okay, they are alike because the base is a rectangle and the area of the base is the same as length times width. Okay, now we're going to look at number 10. It says describe how to solve the equation 1150 equals 100 times H for H. So we need to solve for H, okay? So what we would need to do, if you guys recall, when we left for third quarter, we were solving equations and solving multiplication equations. So I'm going to write this down, so give me just a moment so you'll see what it should look like. Okay, so this is what that means. It means 1150 equals 100H. And 100H is the same as 100 times the height. Okay, so in order to find out what the height is, I need to divide by 100 on both sides. That is correct. I was just hoping that you guys would kind of chime in on your end as I'm working through this with you, okay? So I'm going to divide by 100 on both sides. Okay. And remember that I taught you guys how to use the fraction bar. Okay. So 100 divided by 100 equals H. So remember, we have to cross that out and bring down the H. Okay. And now we need to do a little division. Okay. So I'm going to get my handy calculator here and do 1150. Whoops. And I get 11.5. Okay, so 1150 divided by 100, and I get 11.5. And what's another way to say 11.5? 11 and a half. Okay, so I hope you guys remember that. So 0.5 or 0.50 is the same as half. Okay, so I'm going to simply keep it in fraction units. I'm going to keep it as a fraction. So the height there is 11 and a half inches. Okay. Now, let's look at number 11. Number 11 says, find the height of the water in the aquarium. Okay. Find the height of the water in the aquarium. All right. So look, let me tell you guys this. I think I jumped a little bit ahead. Number 10 said, describe how to solve the equation. So for number 10, and this is what I'm going to say. So excuse me, y'all know we all make mistakes. So I'm just going to say that we will divide by 100 on both sides. Okay, we'll divide by 100 on both sides. Okay, and then number 11 says, what's the height of the aquarium? Well, we're going to look at it this way. Okay. So number 10, we would say, oh, well, we just divide by 100 on both sides. Number 11, it says, what's the height of the water in the aquarium? Well, we just found it. It's 11 and a half inches. Okay? Make sense to you guys? I jumped a little bit ahead, but we're back on track. Okay? Number 12, suppose you know that the height of the water in the aquarium is 11 and a half inches, the length is 10 inches, and the volume is 1150 cubic inches. Write the equation you might use to find the width of the aquarium. Okay, so give me just a moment. Let me write that down so you guys can see it. All right, so what I have here is the formula for volume, length times width times height. And it said, well, suppose you don't know the width this time. Okay, well, pretending we don't know the width of this particular aquarium, I said the volume equals 1150. Remember, they told us that earlier. Okay, for V. The length is 10. We don't know the width. Okay, we're just pretending that we don't know the width. And the height is 11 and a half. And remember, we found the height in number 11. Okay, remember, we already found the height in the number 11. Okay, so this is what that equation would look like then. Okay, that's all they wanted to know for number 12. Okay, now number 13. It says, look back at how you found the volume of the sand in the sandbox. Compare finding the volume with finding the height of the water on these pages. How are the two processes different? Okay, and what I'm going to do is write down a response for you guys so that y'all can have it. So stay tuned. And I think this is a very good question, and we're going to talk about it in just a moment. And guys, this would be a good time for you to think about it and try to compare how the two processes are different, and what we did different compared to the aquarium and the water example and the sand and the sandbox example. So here we are. Okay. So first, if we look back, and I'm just going to thumb through the pages just to refresh you guys' memory bank. We were working on this example where we had to find how much sand would fit into this sand box. Okay. And all we did was length times width times height. Okay. So that was one way. All right. And then for this particular example, we were trying to find out how much water would actually fit into the aquarium. Okay. And remember that volume is the amount of space that occupies an object. Okay. So what we did here, if you look down at my notes, okay, to find the volume, we multiplied the length times width times height. To find the missing dimension, we divided the product of two given dimensions. So let's go back to number 11. We had the volume here, and we divided it by 10 times 10, which gave us 100. Okay, and if you forgot where we got the 100 from, look back on page 264, and remember that the length was 10 and the width was 10. So we did 10 times 10 and came up with 100. So basically all we're doing, just to put this in simple terms for you guys, you actually take the volume and you divide it by the product of those two numbers that you multiply. Remember, product means the answer from multiplying numbers. The answer from multiplying numbers is a product, okay? All right, so let me get my laptop to scroll here. So let's go back to number 13. How are those two processes different? Well, they're different because remember, when we find the volume, we do length times width times height. Find a missing dimension, we divide the product of the two given dimensions, okay? And that's modeled here for us in number 11, okay? Now, for number 14, okay? Number 14, bear with me just a moment, guys. Okay. Number 14 says, a product design team is working on a new drink box, which will hold 225 cubic centimeters of juice. The box is 12.5 centimeters high and 4.5 centimeters long. What is the width of the box? So this time we don't know how wide that box is, but we do know the volume. So we're going to do number 14 just like we did number 11. Okay, instead we were finding the height there. This time we're going to find the width. Okay, so let me turn over and get a brand new page here. So give me just a moment. I'm going to set it up. So what's the volume? Okay, that's right. The volume is 225 cubic centimeters. Okay, we know the length is 4.5. And we know the height is 12.5. And all of this is in centimeters, guys. But we don't know the width. So I'm going to put a question mark there because we don't know the width, not yet. Okay? So remember, what we need to do is multiply the length times the height. Excuse me. We need to multiply the length times the height. So 4.5 times 12.5. So let me go ahead and show you guys that in the calculator. So I'm doing the length 4.5 times the height of 12.5. Bam, I get 56.25. Okay. Now what's the next thing we're going to do? Yes, remember, we're going to do the volume of 225 divided by 225. Excuse me, guys. I think I said that wrong. We're going to do the volume of 225 divided by what we multiplied by and how we got 56.25. Okay, so give me just a moment. Let me set that up for you. So now I'm going to take my calculator here. I'm going to do 225 divided by 56.25. And here we get 4. So now I'm going to say, I'm just going to put the camera on that. The width here is 4. Remember that W stands for the width. Okay, so I set it up like the multiplication equation that you guys have seen before. The volume is 225. Okay, and when I did 56.25 divided by 56.25, remember that cancels out and we bring down the W for width. 225 divided by 56.25, that gives us the width of 4. Okay, so that drink box is going to be 4 centimeters wide. Ms. Molliger, where did you get 56.25? Well, if you look back at our notes that we have here, 56.25 came from multiplying the length times the height. We multiplied the length times the height, and then you do the volume 225 divided by that to get 4. And when I say that, I'm talking about the product between the length and the height. Okay, I'm going to read number 15 for you guys, and I want you guys to kind of chime in as if we were in the classroom together, and you tell me exactly what to do. Number 15 is just like number 14. Okay, it says Eduardo has 27 cubic feet of wood chips to use for a new path in a garden. The chips must be 6 inches deep, and the path is 3 feet wide. How long can the path be? Remember that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Okay. All right, so what's the volume here? You got it, 27 cubic feet. Okay. Do we know the length? No, we don't. Do we know how high? Yes, we do. Okay, it is 6 inches deep, and deep means the same as the height. Okay. Do we know how wide? Yes, it is 3 feet wide. Okay. Now, if you look at this particular problem, we have feet here, we have feet here, we have inches here. So they gave us a little tip to help us remember that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. Well, this is not quite 12 inches, so it's not 1 foot. It's half of that. Okay. So remember that 6 inches is not going to be 1 foot, so don't multiply by that. So 6 is half of 12, so that means that it's going to be half of a foot, if that makes sense to you. Okay, so just think about the conversions. 6 is half of 12, so half of 1 foot is half foot. Okay, so that's what we're going to use to work this problem out. So let me set it up for you. So give me just a moment, and I want you guys to be thinking about that as Ms. Mosier writes it down. So now we're on number 15, page 265. So here we have the volume of 27. And I know I'm going to have to divide, okay? And what are the 2 things that we have to multiply? We're going to multiply the width of 3, and we're going to multiply the depth or the height of 1/2. Okay, so remember, we're not going to use that 6 because we need to make everything turn into feet. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 3 times 1/2, and let's see what we get. So 3 times 1/2, okay, and I get 1.5. Okay. So when I multiply those 2 numbers, I get 1.5. 3 times half is 1.5. Do not use the 6 inches, remember, because here it says 12 inches in a foot, and 6 is half of 12, so half of a foot is 1/2. So if you look here on my notes, that's why I have 1/2 for the height. Okay, and remember how deep or the depth is the height. Okay, so now what are we supposed to do? Okay, remember the volume that they gave us? Yes, the volume is 27 cubic feet. So now I'm going to do 27 divided by 1.5. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys this on the calculator. So we'll do 27 divided by 1 and 1/2. Okay, and we get 18. Okay, So the length of this particular garden path is 18. Okay, and let me show you. So all I did was 27 divided by 1.5, and I'm just setting it up as a fraction. 27 divided by 1.5, and you get 18. Okay, remember, if you don't have a scientific calculator that has the fractions function on it, please feel free to use that online fraction calculator that I posted in my Google Classroom. It'll help just the same. Okay, so any scientific calculator will help because it has the fraction functions on it. Okay, so we just finished part 2 of page 264 and 265, and you guys should have written those answers down so that you can type it either in Google Docs, or you can write it down in your notebook and have everything numbered with the page numbers and take nice pictures for me and then submit it that way. In my next video, I'm going to show you guys how to turn in an assignment, so be looking out for that. And I just want to thank you guys for listening. For any other skills that I feel necessary, I will record videos for you guys to watch. If you need to go back and look at how I worked out a problem or something that I said, please feel free to rewind and fast forward, just to make sure that you're getting that understanding and those questions are answered for you. I look forward to working with you guys through Google Classroom, and if you have any questions, you guys know how to get in contact with me either through Remind or send me a message. All right, see you guys later. Bye.